before, if you don't give a shit about the research and you're like, oh, that's whatever, just, you don't need to overcomplicate it. If you look at it objectively, anecdotally, what are the results we see when you do roll more? You get less gassed, right? You're able to go longer, harder, etc., because you're using less of your energy. So is there benefit to that? Hell yeah, there is. Should you be rolling more? Yeah. But is it making you more cardio fit? No. Now, I think that everyone knows someone that has a huge gas tank on the mats. Maybe they're brown belt or up, right? And they can go a full 10-minute round and, seemingly still have another 10 minutes in them going hard, right? You put that same person on a track, on a bike, on an aerodyne, they die in the ass. They can't even get their heart rate up. They can't even, score like a 55 on a VO2 max scale. And you're like, where is the disconnect? Well, they have sport-specific conditioning. Very similar research has been done in other sports. Believe it or not, sports like soccer have had the very, very similar findings that to a certain extent, the sport makes you fitter, but there's a ceiling effect on that. And for jiu-jitsu, it's theorized in the literature that this is because that jiu-jitsu is supine, right? You're laying down a lot of the time. So gravity is being taken out of the equation. And they're theorizing that has a limiting effect on how it improves your VO2 max. For anyone out there who has trained jiu-jitsu and then has gone and done a wrestling class, and you're like, holy shit, this is so much harder on cardio. Like, what is going on? Well, funnily enough, pro level wrestlers on average have a much higher VO2 max than pro level jiu-jitsu players. And it's because the theory is that they're not supine. Wrestling is mostly done on the feet. It's very explosive, but there's no, you're not laying down, like there's no guard, etc. So that's another theory. And judokas are the same. They have slightly less than wrestlers, but slightly higher than jiu-jitsu players. So the ranking is jiu-jitsu the lowest, then judokas, then wrestlers.
It's some class. I actually thought of my first wrestling class. Oh, that was hell. Suddenly,
Yeah.
it takes out all the stalling. It takes out all the guard play. And before you know it, you're just again and again and again. And it's
so hard.
So how then would you want people to eat? I mean, you have a fantastic thing on your Instagram about a diet where you're on about like steak and chips and breakfast wraps and granola. And I'm like, it's almost like you're telling me off when you see my diet at the minute. Like, and I was like, okay, I need to eat like a grown up. But how do we implement that recovery? Because I know we're coming close to our time and I feel like it's literally been 5 minutes. And I was like, this is a podcast in its own in a lot of things. But how do we... Like, how do we eat like an athlete? How do we recover like an athlete? How do we implement that to go back and be better on the mats again for the next session?
Nutrition is, you're right, we could do a full hour on nutrition for jiu-jitsu and not even scratch the surface. I would say that on the outset, if I could just get one thing across to anyone listening about nutrition, it's to prioritize your carbohydrates, prioritize your protein sources.